My name is Emily, and my home is Santa Barbara, California. My journey to yoga probably began just as a child with my mom being very in her body and moving and dancing, and that being a huge part of her life and her work. And probably throughout the years as I got older, I first really practiced yoga with my older stepsister, Janice, who has become one of my main teachers and mentors, someone that I'm really grateful to for bringing really the practice of yoga into my life. And the first time that I really practiced was with her. She taught my mom and I a private class at her home studio. And at the time, she was an Ashtanga teacher in San Francisco. And so she basically taught me the primary series. And it was just, I felt like I just arrived home in my body. I was never really that into sports or much of an athlete, and I didn't really have that kind of connection with my body. And I felt like as soon as I started moving through sun salutations and all the different poses, it just felt right. And she sent me home to Portland, Oregon, where I was living at the time, with my little cheat sheet of practice. And I basically did a home practice until I found a teacher in Portland, and there weren't really that many yoga studios there when I lived there. This was in the mid-90s, and I actually found my first yoga teacher at Gold's Gym, and her name was Giselle, and she was amazing. I kind of lost her along the way. I don't know where she is these days, but I just practiced all the time. I loved practicing with her, and I dabbled in and out of some different classes with other teachers, and yoga just became a part of pretty much my daily life. And I took it with me when I moved to New York City from Portland, and I practiced quite a bit there with some different teachers, mainly through, at that time, it was called Yoga Zone, was the main place that I practiced, and just kind of kept finding my way. And eventually I moved to Santa Barbara and continued to find my tribe here and the people that I practice with. And at that point, it's about probably close to 10 years after beginning my personal practice, I started looking into becoming a yoga teacher. I kind of started feeling like that was where I wanted to head with my practice. And I began studying different workshops and trainings, and a lot of them were based in yoga therapy. That was kind of the direction that I saw myself going. And again, studying with my stepsister Janice, and starting to just learn from a lot of different teachers that were based out of Santa Barbara or came to Santa Barbara to teach, such as Grilley, Scott Blossom, Lisa Walford, and then it kind of just kept going. I then decided to do my 200-hour teacher training, and I took that with Integrative Yoga Therapy, and that was a really interesting training. And at that point, I really felt like I wanted to learn how to help people just in daily life with yoga, really learn how to integrate the practices to just feel better in your body, and also working with emotional stresses and anxiety and things that I think yoga really helped me with in a lot of ways. And that definitely led me to study with teachers like Cheri Clampett and Arturo Peal, who are two other really important people in my life, and teachers in my life who I just admire so much. And being drawn to a more traditional side and really learning the roots of yoga, I decided to travel to India to study with teachers in the Krishnamacharya tradition. And I chose a small school in Chennai, India, called Yoga Raksanam. And there were 3 teachers there, Sridhar, Radha, and Viji, who really helped lay the foundation for my knowledge in the tradition of yoga. And I studied with them for about 2 months, maybe a little longer, studied Yoga Sutras and chanting and theory of practice and sequencing, and all based in the lineage of Krishnamacharya. And I think that I came home with a really, really solid foundation, and I continued to study yoga therapy and the Krishnamacharya tradition with all different teachers from the East and the West, such as Mirka Krafsa and the Mohan family and Kaustubh Deskachar, and just really tried to embody not only the traditional lineage of yoga, but also how to integrate it into Western culture and daily life, and how that works. And so I think that over time, I've just been playing with different ways of doing that and different ways of working with the body. I've been integrated a lot of more like Western exercise science into my practices. I started really studying anatomy more and studying with a teacher named Jason Ray Brown, who I ended up doing a 500-hour training with, and his system of yoga that integrates Western exercise science, traditional ancient yoga practices, and Chinese medicine, which was a really nice crossover with studies with yin yoga. And I just feel like it keeps going. Like I could just talk on and on about all the different teachers who've really influenced my life. More recently, I've been studying with some of the teachers from Yoga Tune-Up, Jill Miller and Alexandra Ellis, and just really learning all of these different ways to help people. And that's been my main interest in teaching and practicing. I think one of the more memorable moments of practice that I've experienced is I'm thinking of a retreat that I was on actually with Cheri Clampett and Heather Tiddens, and we were in Montana, and we were practicing and also experimenting, exploring our bodies, but also different Native American rituals and healing practices. And I think one of the most memorable experiences that I had was just holding bridge pose for a really, really long time. Like it kind of felt like an eternity, but my body was fine. I didn't feel any pain or discomfort. But what I did feel was this flood of emotion came through me, and a huge release of sadness and pain that I had been holding for so long, and holding in my body and in my tissues and in my heart, and being in this heart opener and challenging my body to hold a pose for an extended period of time in a warm room, in a safe place, really allowed me to release something that I had been holding onto for a really long time, that I was ready to let go of. And I think one of the most beautiful moments for me in that practice was that as I was having this release, Cheri came over to me and she just put her hands on my shoulders and just held her hands there. And I just felt this complete love and support, and I really felt her holding space for me as I experienced this clearing of something old that I had been holding on to. And I think that memory has stayed with me for so long because I realized that in so many ways, being a teacher, a yoga teacher, is so much about just holding space for the person that you're with and allowing them to experience the practice however they need to and being there for them. So that was a really memorable experience for me. So I think my experience in working with different processes that are happening in the body, physically, mentally, emotionally. I've learned so much over time from my students, from just being with them and watching their bodies and how they move and what they need from me in order to work with them. Obviously, I've also had to do some training in how to work with the body. And in my own practice, I think that for myself, I tend to be a more anxious person at times, and I can get stressed easily. And long before yoga was a huge part of my life, I think that at times I allowed my anxiety or my stress or fears to kind of rule my world and rule my behavior. And one of the ways that yoga has really helped me is that it's allowed me to pause, and it's allowed me to take a step back and to center and ground and really see what is going on, but also learning how to be tender with myself when things come up. And that may be something that comes up on a physical level. It may be something emotional in my own heart or in an interaction that I have with another person, friend, my husband, a family member. And the practice of yoga, I think, really gives you a tool to work with. And more, I think about yoga as just a way of making life a little bit more comfortable and a little bit easier, and a way that you can really work through challenging times, because they're going to come up. They come up all the time. They come up more than once in one day, and having these tools just gives us the opportunity to pause, to reflect, to notice what we're experiencing in our bodies, in our minds, and to try to channelize our thoughts and start to really focus on what we need in that moment. And that can happen on a physical level too. And that's why I think my practice changes every single day, because every day when I get on my mat, I just ask myself, what do I need today? Do I want to flow? Do I need to roll on balls for an hour and release myofascial tension? Do I need to meditate and breathe? And of course, in an ideal day, I would do all of those things. But with the amount of time that we have, I choose what's right for me in that moment. And I think that yoga gives us the tool to choose what's right for us in the moment and take care of ourselves on a deep level. My relationship with self-care it's a pretty great relationship. I've gotten to be pretty good at it, and I think that for me, my self-care practice is a lot of different things. And first of all, I practice self-care because I need to take care of myself in order to do what I do. I need to take care of myself to help other people. And I also walk the talk. So I don't want to be preaching that self-care is the most important thing that people should be doing for themselves and then not taking care of myself. So my self-care practice is it's my yoga practice for sure. It is my self-massage practice. I have studied self-massage and I do a lot of self-massage every day at different times. I also practice self-care by walking my dog, being out in nature. Going on retreat is a huge one for me. I try to go on at least a couple retreats a year that are more yoga, meditation, silence, if I can find one that works for me at that time. And then also just personal retreats, taking time out, turning my phone off, not checking my email every single minute of every single day, and really listening, really checking in and listening to what it is that I need, and saying no when I need to, and saying yes when I need to, and being sure that I take time out of my day to really take good care of myself. It's really interesting. My bodywork practice informs my yoga teaching practice, and my yoga teaching practice informs my bodywork practice. And so I learn so much from watching people move. I mean, that is, for me, that just answers a lot of questions for me. But sometimes getting my hands and feeling tissues and noticing where people are bound up and finding areas that people are holding, I may not see that with my eyes. I may need to have my hands and feel. And so I feel really lucky to have both of those avenues of working with people, because I think that they work really well together. And so sometimes a yoga private, I may combine doing some body work and yoga at the same time if I'm noticing that someone's movement is inhibited and they need a little bit of help with that. Or I may also guide the student to use self-massage so that they can learn to start to create more openness in the body that way and start to relieve some of the discomfort through massage that way. You know your practice is working when you feel good, when your body is comfortable, when you're not in pain from your practice. Sometimes you may have pain that you're working with from other things, and we hope that the practice helps to alleviate that. But really, being comfortable in your body, feeling good, moving well, feeling stable, knowing that my practice doesn't create too much mobility in my body or instability. I know that my practice is working when I'm feeling centered, focused, and calm in my mind. And I know my practice is really working when I'm sleeping really well. I think that's a big indicator for me that what I'm doing is working, that I'm sleeping well, that I'm happy, and that I feel good in my body. Thank you.